right, we're going to do a video about Jank Buffalo Yogurt and his chaotic campaign to get into Congress in order to buffalo shit all over people. But I do want to let you guys know that I might be premiering this. I might not be here for the premiere because I am going to an event. I'm going to probably cover an impeachment gathering in the area. So that would be a new Leopard on the Prowl video. I don't remember what I called those. There was only one, the one that I went to where there was nothing, with Anthony Gonzalez. So anyway, I think it was called Leopard in the Field. It doesn't matter. So Jake Uygur is in trouble. And I will say before we go on that if you watch the Tim Pool video, he did point out that Jake Uygur was smeared about the David Duke interview. I think it's the height of 1 second. It's the height of disingenuous rhetoric to claim that Cenk Uygur had David Duke on his show, and then in response to Duke saying, "I am not what you call racist," Mr. Uygur replies, "No, of course not." Well, if you watch that interview, it's pretty clear that Mr. Duke was not. I mean, Uygur was not actually he was not actually voicing agreement with David Duke. Cenk Uygur was saying, "Oh, of course not." You know, the way that and I'm not going to smear Cenk Uygur for things that he didn't do. Just like if somebody took something that I said in this video or a joke that I said out of context, I for sure would be pissed off. So I'm not going to take him to task for things like that. But he's getting a lot of bad press for things like this. This is from Mr. Reagan's channel, so you can. I don't know if I have to link it because, you know, here I'll upvote it. I have tried to contact him about other stories, and he's never really responded. So, but he's a good channel. So, and in any case, he took from the Mark Dice channel some of these clips, and they are golden about bestiality.
We'll get into that in a second. But first, let's go to the video.
I believe that if I were the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are giving, you are pleasuring the animal. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. Now why? Why did that happen? It's the dumbest thing I've said.
It really is the dumbest thing you said.
No, I'll tell you why. Because there's was the case that we covered where there was a guy or a girl or something that was pleasuring a horse, and the horse came to a conclusion, right? So who got harmed?
You know that people who are, okay, look, not to be a downer about what you're saying, because what you're saying sounds kind of funny, but a lot of people who are being raped can actually have an orgasm. So if a guy is being raped, he can have an orgasm. You can't say, if you come, that means you wanted it. That's not the right way to go.
But number one, you're being an unbelievable downer.
I am, but that's the truth.
Number two, they're not both humans. Number three, I mean, if you really asked the horse, did you mind? The answer's got to be, no. Do you see what I'm saying?
All right, so yeah, that's what he said. I think that there's a few other clips of him talking about bestiality, and then Mr. Reagan goes and talks about other people. I will say 100%. I don't believe in any sort of animal-human sexual activity. I am a full libertarian, and I would say even in the most libertarian society, you cannot grant sexual activities between an adult and three people. Someone who's or three entities, an incapacitated person, like somebody in a coma, or someone who's not capable of consenting, a child, and also any sort of animal. I don't believe in that, and that's on top of other sexual offenses that I would keep as well. All of those things have to be prosecuted with the harshest penalty that there is, and then some people are saying, oh, you could possibly reform some of these people. That's a different debate, but you should never, ever, ever say any of them are okay. I think that is even, I mean, it's not even the minimum. This is like way, way, way into the fundamentals. So that's not the only thing that's going on. Obviously, there was this notion that Cenk Uygur is a little too far left for the Democratic Party. He's fighting in a district that is, I would say, kind of closer to the center. And there's already people, this was on the stream yesterday with Afi Coleman, people who are trying to push back against this notion that because of the failure of Corbyn, you can't support someone like who's more centrist.
Obviously, like the rest of you, I'm incredibly disappointed with these election results. We're now headed to at least 5 more years of Conservative government, which as a direct result of their policies will lead to the deaths of thousands of our fellow Britons and the further impoverishment of millions more. Sadly, I'm not surprised that we lost. Some of us had said for some time that we were headed to lose the next election. And I don't say that to be smug or to say I told you so. I say that because we'd correctly diagnosed what the problems were within the party. And the problems didn't come from our radical common sense socialist policies, which is what the Labour right will now say. They will say that the shift to the left under Jeremy Corbyn is what destroyed us. But 2017 proves that for the lie that it is, where our socialist policy platform massively increased our vote share and our seats in Parliament. The reality is we disregarded democracy and democracy has now disregarded us.
So that's a common refrain among voters in those districts in Britain where the vote share was up in 2017. But you have to remember, a lot of the people in 2017 voted for Corbyn partially because Theresa May was a very bad alternative, and she really screwed up her campaign against him. So it's debatable every time there's a game. You know, this Sunday, a lot of you don't like football. Somebody even complained about me talking about football. But this Sunday, a lot of people were giving credit for the Dallas win to the coaching staff. And I said, well, if you really think about it, the Rams screwed up the game. Jared Goff played horribly. It's the same idea in 2018. If you look at the congressional districts that he's running in, the victory was by 22,000 people, which is a respectable margin. But you have to take into account. So let's look at some of the previous races that the incumbent who got knocked out, Steve Knight, was a participant in. So you can actually see here that in 2018 that was 22,000. In 2016, he won by 21,000 a margin. So a lot of these times, it's a very, very narrow group of people that are, I guess, what you would call swing voters. So 21,000 out of a total of, 261,000 voters here. And then in the 2018 election, you could actually see that it was also a little lower of a vote total. In fact, it was only about 240,000. So it's really an issue of voter enthusiasm and whether people are willing to go out to vote. And Cenk Uygur, with a lot of his controversial statements, could be the person who scuttles the Democratic nomination. I see here that in 2020 you have a primary campaign where Christopher Smith and Christy Smith are both running in the same district. That could be a little confusing, don't you think? And then you have Cenk Uygur. You have a Hispanic candidate, Anibal Valdez Ortega. You have the former incumbent Steve Knight. You have George Papadopoulos. I think at some point Mike Cernovich was going to run, and I think he might have decided not to. I don't remember it was Mike Cernovich, by the way. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments. The fact is, though, that Cenk Uygur is he's a very polarizing figure. And in a district where there are a fair amount of centrist voters, I don't think he's going to poll well, especially not among voters who are more concerned with the economy and things like that, who might not be exactly big boosters for the impeachment process, who are not supportive of Medicare for all. And he's going to be constantly pounding those things into his speeches, as he already has, and that might affect to some degree the enthusiasm for voters if he becomes the nominee. Some people are going to say, well, we don't want somebody who's that radical being the nominee. So let's look a little at the video. This is from Michigan. of Representative Elise Slotkin reacting to protesters after she. So she's announced that she will support impeachment.
That the President of the United States came out, and his lawyer came out and said very specifically that they had reached out to a foreign power and asked him for information on a political rival. Rudy Giuliani said it openly on television. The president responded accordingly.
So first, you're hearing the opponents, but you'll see soon that she cues her supporters.
When asked by a reporter. And for me, that was fundamentally different. That was something fundamentally different.
And then the moderator is getting all pissed off. As a CIA officer and as someone who has sworn an oath to protect and defend. So a CIA officer, someone who's served in the CIA, they're unlikely to appeal to people who've already lost confidence in the intelligence agencies. That would include a lot of the staunchest Trump supporters, but it will also include a lot of the progressives who lived through the Iraq War era. They lived through the Iran-Contra affair. They've lived through a number of and I'm just listing a couple of big ones. There's plenty more of examples that you could say. Big incidents that showed that the intelligence agencies are not transparent, that in many cases they're actually looking out for their own interests, and they often cause things that lead to a lot of damage to the U.S. and its reputation abroad and to other countries, and sort of drain our resources in order to fight wars abroad.
Defend the Constitution, reaching out to a foreign power is something fundamentally different.
So now you see her supporters are standing up for her. They've all conveniently sat in the front. So that's the type of reaction that impeachment is getting in moderate districts, and this is the type of district that Cenk Uygur is running in. Now, this was a video. I watched the whole thing yesterday, and the reaction is pretty extreme. That people don't really believe what Cenk Uygur is selling here to his old friend Jimmy Dore.
The Trump Tower meeting if they were already working with the Russians.
That's right.
Why did he ask Roger Stone to go ask WikiLeaks
Correct.
if they already had the information?
Yes.
So that makes no logical sense.
Right.
Okay. And I wish that we had enough investigative reporters in this country that we could uncover more facts.
Right.
And as I did with Madden, I'll tell everybody. I'll tell you what my speculation is based on logic, and I wish we had more facts to either prove it or disprove it. So
this is I can't play the whole interview. First of all, I have limited time today, and second of all, there's so much that Cenk Uygur says in the interview that's very disingenuous. But I would say that him now saying, I wish there were investigative reporters that could look into this and everything. There are so many people who for the past 4 years, if not longer, have looked into Donald Trump and his ties to Russia, alleged ties to Russia, and have found diddly squat that this is literally like someone going to the beach and complaining that there's not enough sand, right? Or that the water isn't salty enough. This is like the height of absurdity here.
So why do I think Trump's connected to the Russians? Pre the election, the Russians buy like a third of one of the Trump towers. It's a very classic money laundering operation. You could say, hey, maybe Trump doesn't know. He's like, hey, they want to buy a third of my tower and they're washing their money out of Russia. What is it my business? Okay, I'm happy that they're getting me out of bankruptcy. But we know that the Russian oligarchs buy in Trump properties. They have the same money. They have their money in the same portion of Deutsche Bank, which is called the global laundromat, where they wash oligarch money out. Okay, and so Trump is in that same portion. Then the kids, Eric and Don Jr., especially Eric, they both admit that the Russians gave him the money. Eric says the Russians gave us all of our money to a golf writer, and the golf writer says, "Why?" He says, "Oh, they really, really love golf." Okay. No one believes that. I mean, no one could be stupid enough to believe that the Russians gave all this money to the Trump family because they really love golf. So that's not the answer. Mark Sanford was not on the Appalachian Trail. The Russians don't give Trump money because they love golf. Okay, so they have an intense business relationship. Then Putin wakes up one day and Trump won. And he's like, oh my God, how the hell did we get this lucky? Yeah, they did the fake news stuff. They did try to influence the election. It was a small percentage, et cetera, but they didn't think he was going to win.
So this is contradicting 2 to 3 years of Cenk Uygur feeding. He wasn't just accepting some of the premises posed by the mainstream media of Trump conspiracy theories about how he was communicating with Russia. He promoted things like the Black Ledger and the Steele dossier and allegations of the, I think it was called Proton Bank or Alpha Bank or something, things that were proven to be completely irrelevant. And now this whole Deutsche Bank nonsense, all of those things, he's basically now saying, oh, those were not real. Those were like distractions from the real problem. Well, so you were part of those distractions, Cenk Uygur, and in some cases he was promoting them. In many cases, he was trying to make them a bigger issue than the media was, and that's really showing how much of a competition he was in with them.
And then he wins, and they're like, holy cow.
And now he's saying, well, Putin didn't actually expect Trump to win, and he wasn't actually trying to get Trump to win. Well, that's a direct contradiction of the rest of the Russiagators. So that's why Jimmy Dore is saying Cenk Uygur disavows Russiagate. But in order to disavow something, you have to concede that you were a part of the group of people that were promulgating it.
Then my guess is, I'll tell you what this is now, there's the facts and then there's the speculation. He calls up his oligarch friends. They're like, doesn't he owe you guys a ton of money? And they're like, yeah.
This is the speculation part?
This is the speculation part. Yes. Okay. Does he owe them a lot of money? That's definite, according to his own family. Okay. The speculation part is that Putin calling up the oligarchs go, you guys got him, right? Oh, we got him. So then look at all the things he does afterwards. Now, this could get into an hour-long conversation, but again, the issue of the transcripts came up the other day. 5 different meetings with Putin, and there are no transcripts. Normally, you give it to the State Department. He says, no, I will not give it to the State Department. I will not give it to anybody. In one of the meetings, private meetings with Putin, he literally takes away the notes of the American translator. In another meeting, he says, I don't even want an American translator. I only want and trust the Russian translator. Okay. He says, taking Crimea makes sense. Russia should have Crimea. He says, our NATO allies are the problem.
Okay, so wait.
So before Jimmy pushes back, let me make it clear that when you look at the past 3 months of what's happened with State Department staff, with people within the White House, within the National Security Council, people who have leaked and blown the whistle, if you can call it, on things that are far less incriminating than what Cenk Uygur is alleging, why would Trump trust any of these people? Why would anyone trust it? These people have proven themselves to be untrustworthy and that they're committed to only politicians that could conform to their agenda. So let's hear what Jimmy has to say.
You say now you're basing this on the fact that he's indebted to the Russians.
Yes.
Because they gave him all his money because he goes bankrupt and he doesn't need money, and so they money launder through him. The oligarchs do.
Yes.
And that the oligarchs in Russia are all beholden to Putin.
100%. That's right.
Okay. So that's your theory.
Yes.
But you don't have any. Okay. So then you say, look at the evidence, and the evidence is that Trump has been acting in Putin's behalf, right? But
yeah, on 90% of the issues,
but
yes.
But on huge deals, he's not. First of all, he pulled out of the INF treaty. They did not want that to happen. He stopped that gas deal with Germany and Russia. That's the biggest deal. That has more to do with the Syrian war gas than anything. He bombed his client state. He bombed Syria. He wanted to overthrow Venezuela, which for Putin was. So there's, Cenk, for everything that you can say that he's doing the bidding of Putin, you can say the exact opposite, and factually, right? It's not a theory that he stopped that gas thing. It's not a theory he pulled out of the INF. It's not a theory he bombed Syria or wanted to overthrow Venezuela. These are actual things that he did that are directly against Putin. So it's reckless, I think, to keep pushing what I would consider McCarthyism, because not because I care about Trump at all, right? You know that. But because, like I pointed out, it comes back, it creates this toxic environment, and at the same time, we're doing unwittingly the bidding of the establishment because they'd rather talk about Russia or Ukraine or anything except the fact that they just gave Trump everything he asked for.
Yeah, well, look, I agree that it's they use it as a distraction. But what's interesting, as usual, with the Democrats is
So Cenk Uygur doesn't acknowledge anything of what Jimmy Dore just said, which is solid truth about American foreign policy that's been adverse to Russia. And that's really what shows the delusion of people who continue to believe that Donald Trump is somehow beholden to Vladimir Putin.
But when it comes to actually investigating his finances, which could reveal, and it could prove me or you right or wrong, which I'm super happy to do. My God, all I want is the facts. So you list.
All I want is the facts, but I don't have probable cause to investigate. Because remember, the meeting that he's talking about with Putin had literally nothing to do with Trump's finances.
The things that Trump did against the Russians, I think I have a longer list of things that he did for the Russians. And by the way, that's a fair debate. That's why we have these conversations, and we don't unplatform people, et cetera. We talk it through, and it's
right. We don't unplatform people. We don't let journalists who objected to you, like Michael Tracy, we don't let them go because they don't believe in the whole Russia conspiracy nonsense, right, Cenk? So this is another part where you see that he's he hasn't learned anything about it.
They're like the Russians and only the Russians. They're the boogeymen.
No,
but
Saudi
if you have
Arabia,
business deals,
Turkey.
if you have business dealings with Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, nope, those don't count. Those don't count. What are you talking about? The guy, he has a licensing deal in Turkey.
Yes.
And
he just did that for Erdogan. Why would he do? Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I asked logically, do I know for a fact that Donald Trump is going to get a new licensing deal from people connected to Erdogan in Turkey? No, I do not know that for a fact. But I do know that he withdraws from northern Syria overnight. I want him to withdraw from Syria completely. By the way, he doesn't. He withdraws from northern Syria and puts the troops in the other parts of Syria. No withdrawal at all. Okay, but he does it on behalf of Turkey. Yes. And understand how licensing deals work. When you have a Trump Tower in Istanbul, Trump does not own it or run it. They pay him for his name. So when it's a licensing deal like that, you can pay him any amount you want and call it fair market value. So let's say you would have normally paid him $1 million, $2 million. You decide because Erdogan told you that his name is now more valuable and you're going to pay him $10 or $20 million.
So what Cenk Uygur leaves out of that funny tidbit is that he's leaving out a massive, massive step in it, which is that not only does Donald Trump not own Trump Tower in Istanbul, and not only is he not in any way managing it, and not only is he just licensing its name, but most importantly, the body that is buying the licensing rights to it is not the Turkish government. It's a very rich it's a corporation in Turkey. It says Trump Towers Istanbul is not owned, developed, or sold by the Trump Organization or any of their current or former principals or affiliates, or to Dogu Automotive Takara AS and their partners, the owners and developers of the property, uses the Trump name and mark under license, which license may be terminated or revoked according to its terms. So it's not Erdogan who is buying the licensing from Donald Trump and effectively bribing him. It's a Turkish corporation that is paying the Trump Tower or the Trump Organization in New York to use it. So Cenk is leaving out a very important step that would have to be, investigated in order to even give grounds to look into this. That was, I think, the major thing. Of course, he looked for some money later. I think it's over here.
Situation. So I'm saying it with all earnestness. Look, cenk2020.com/go is to donate. And it makes all the difference because now you know for a fact I got no one left. I got no political allies. I got no political groups backing me. I got nobody but you guys. Okay.
Yeah, this is what he did to himself. He pushed people away. I think you can basically accept that he pushed Jimmy Dore away too. Jimmy Dore, I don't think people should be deceived about this. I believe Jimmy Dore left the Young Turks partially because of his skepticism towards Russiagate. And you can see it in the comments. A lot of these Jimmy Dore fans are saying, Cenk, I don't believe Russiagate, but I have my own batshit crazy theory backed up by nothing but my own fantasies. This person says, Cenk, let's see your financial records. And it's a fair question because now he's running for Congress. Cenk, why did you all practically declare the end of life on Earth? the night Trump won over a true warmonger. You are looking so very double-faced. He's playing the game by trying to pretend that he's not playing the game. 2 years of the Russia hoax from Cenk won't go away even with this interview. This person says, Jimmy, call out Chunk on his BS. Push him harder. Get Aaron Matei to grill him. So people are not buying this garbage. It's remember when Cenk advocated for bestiality? So some people were trolling just like me. He's such a horrible actor. I have a Russia theory. Click. So somebody just watched part of it. They're like, screw this. Cenk is a pro at misrepresenting other people's ideas. The David Duke interview smear couldn't happen to a better person. Remember sitting there for 3 hours pretending to have an honest conversation with Sam Harris about religion and your misrepresentations of his ideas, only to lie and smear him more afterwards? I don't believe in karma, but this sure feels like this. So these are liberal opponents of Cenk Uygur who are saying, screw you. We don't really believe in we don't believe you anymore. You've lied enough to us for all sorts of issues. Cenk Uygur, which way is the wind blowing? So, and then there's now this is coming out. This is from today from the Washington Examiner. Clearly troubled. Nephew of Democratic candidate Cenk Uygur calls CNN women the C word, which is it's a word for women's anatomy, or I should say female anatomy. The nephew of Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks creator who is running for Congress, called the women on CNN C words in response to a segment that was critical of him. Uygur, at 49, has a history of making controversial statements that include rating women based on how likely men would be to let them perform oral sex on them. Using that's I don't have any problem. I think the old Cenk, the one. Certainly not the bestiality Cenk, but the one who said like really crazy, like off the cuff, off color stuff. I would have voted for that one, but since he's renounced his old ways, no, I'm not voting for you, and I can't vote for him anyway because I live in Ohio. The comments led to 2020 frontrunner Senator Bernie Sanders retracting his endorsement of Uygur. Before Sanders revoked the endorsement, Representative Ro Khanna, a co-chairman for Sanders' campaign, appeared on CNN with anchor Breonna Taylor. She pushed Khanna to address Uygur's controversial statements. The important thing is for him to unequivocally, clearly condemn any of those past statements and say that they were wrong and that he has moved on and understood why they were wrong, Khanna said. I do think he has done that, and if people acknowledge their mistakes, acknowledge when they have said something that is offensive or hurtful, I do think they should be given a chance to still participate. And this person. So let's listen to this. I hope that I'm not going to get a strike for it. So this will be funny. You can't. I don't even know if you can. I think it's been disabled. Wow. So you can't even play it on Twitter. But anyways, Monica Mendoza Ferrer has been basically digging up on behalf of the Democrats, by the way, not on behalf of the GOP, a lot of these clips of Cenk from the past. And it says Hassan Piker, Uygur's nephew and the host of The Breakdown on the Young Turks, showed a clip of the interview on Twitch, a game-focused streaming platform, paused it, and then ridiculed Kaler in a post that surfaced on social media. By the way, all these C words, dude, on CNN and every other establishment outlet, none of them can even say this mother effer's name right, dude. Goddamn, if you're going to act like they're being racist, the least you can do, you dumb shits, is say the man's name right. I'm kind of just trying to decide which words not to say. CNN anchor Jake Tapper retweeted the clip and commented, absolutely disgusting. The misogyny is appalling. The great and professional, Breonna Taylor and all the women of CNN are owed an apology. And then Hassan Abi says, I'm not referring to the women specifically when I say everyone in establishment media. I'm talking about people like you, Jake, you and everyone else who engages in dishonest smears of this one psycho's Twitter threads, just because it targets progressives, which you obviously hate. So, look, I don't think that you should just throw people over the bridge for saying off the color stuff. But remember, Hassan Piker supports Antifa. Hassan Piker supported the people who, they assaulted and seriously injured Andy Ngo. So this is a person who has no leg to stand on when it's an issue of smears and targeting people personally. Following Tapper's criticism of Piker, the TYT host responded, so that's just rereading it. CNN spokesman Matt Dornick told the Washington Examiner, "I'm not interested in providing an official corporate statement about someone so irrelevant and clearly troubled. I think Jake already addressed appropriately." Piker faced backlash in August for claiming that so I forgot about this one, but yeah, this was pretty funny. That Republican Representative Dan Crenshaw lost his eye because some mujahideen, a brave effing soldier, effed his eye hole with their dick. Isn't that how he effing lost his dumbass eye? Because he got his effing eye hole effed up by a brave soldier? Uygur is running for California's 25th congressional district, which was vacated by Democratic Representative Katie Hill earlier this fall. Should Uygur win the primary, he could be going up against Republican George Papadopoulos, who served less than 2 weeks in prison after being convicted of lying to the FBI in relation to his time with the Trump 2016 presidential campaign. The Uygur campaign did not immediately return a request for comment. So yeah, this is hilarious, and I do have to go. I will be uploading this, so please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to me on BitChute and on Minds.com, as well as Subscribestar if you want to donate. All of those are at Chef Leopard for the tag at Chef Leopard, and on Gap at Starscream85, and I will talk to you later.